In the quiet village of Mwanzani, nestled by the glistening banks of the Jangari River, there stood an old wooden bridge. This bridge, weathered and sturdy, was the sole connection between the village and the expansive green fields beyond. The villagers often crossed it to tend to their crops, fetch water, or visit neighboring towns. However, a peculiar legend surrounded the bridge, whispered in hushed tones by children and elders alike. The legend spoke of a crocodile, a cunning and ancient creature that guarded the bridge fiercely. The crocodile, named Jabari, was no ordinary beast. He was said to be as old as the bridge itself, his scales glistening with a deep emerald hue, his eyes sharp and knowing. Jabari was no brute relying on strength alone. Instead, he was a thinker, a strategist who prided himself on his intellect and wit. His reputation was well known, and no one dared challenge him without offering something in return. One fine morning, a man named Kofi, a farmer from Mwanzani, approached the bridge. Kofi was a hard-working man with a basket full of fresh vegetables to sell in the neighboring town. As he stepped onto the creaking planks of the bridge, a deep, rumbling voice stopped him in his tracks. "Who dares cross my bridge without my permission?" Startled, Kofi looked down to see Jabari's massive form partially submerged in the river. Only his piercing eyes and the tip of his snout were visible above the water. "It is I, Kofi," the man replied, his voice trembling. "I mean no harm, Jabari. I must sell these vegetables to earn my living." Jabari chuckled, a deep and menacing sound. "No one crosses my bridge without offering something in return. What will you give me, farmer?" Kofi's heart sank. He had nothing to spare. Every vegetable in his basket was essential to feed his family and earn a modest income. "I have nothing to offer you, Jabari," he admitted, his voice heavy with despair. The crocodile's eyes narrowed. "Nothing? Then you shall not pass." Desperate, Kofi racked his brain for a solution. Suddenly, an idea struck him. "Jabari, I promise to bring you a basket of fresh eggs the next time I cross this bridge. Please, let me pass today. I swear upon my honor as a farmer." Jabari considered the offer, his eyes glinting with curiosity. "A basket of eggs, you say? Very well, Kofi. I shall hold you to your promise. But beware. If you break your word, there will be consequences." With a sigh of relief, Kofi hurried across the bridge, thanking Jabari profusely. As he walked away, the weight of his promise lingered heavily in his mind. Days turned into weeks, and Kofi's life carried on as usual. He tended to his fields, sold his produce, and cared for his family. Yet, he could not forget his promise to Jabari. The thought of returning to the bridge with a basket of eggs filled him with dread. His chickens had stopped laying as much, and every egg was precious. One day, as he prepared to visit the neighboring town again, his wife noticed his troubled expression. "What's wrong, Kofi?" she asked. He hesitated before recounting the tale of his encounter with Jabari and the promise he had made. His wife, wise and pragmatic, nodded thoughtfully. "A promise is a promise, Kofi. We must honor it, even if it costs us. Let me prepare the basket of eggs for you." Reluctantly, Kofi agreed. He carried the basket carefully as he approached the bridge once more. The familiar rumble of Jabari's voice greeted him. "Ah, Kofi, have you brought what you promised?" With a heavy heart, Kofi placed the basket on the bridge. "Here are the eggs I promised, Jabari. Please accept them and let me pass." Jabari emerged from the water, his massive form glistening in the sunlight. He inspected the basket with keen eyes, a satisfied smile curling across his snout. "Well done, farmer. You have kept your word. You may pass freely today." As Kofi crossed the bridge, a sense of relief washed over him. But as he walked away, he couldn't shake the feeling that his dealings with Jabari were far from over. The crocodile's game. Months passed, and Jabari's legend grew even more formidable. Word spread of his cleverness and the bargains he struck with those who dared cross his bridge. Each deal was unique, tailored to the individual's situation, but always steeped in Jabari's cunning. One day, a wandering merchant named Kwame approached the bridge. Kwame was known for his sharp tongue and quick wit. As he stepped onto the bridge, Jabari's voice echoed once more. "Who dares cross my bridge without my permission?" Kwame smirked, unfazed. "It is I, Kwame, a humble merchant. What toll do you demand, wise Jabari?" Jabari's eyes gleamed with interest. "What do you carry, merchant?" "Fine silks, spices, and trinkets from far-off lands," Kwame replied. The crocodile pondered for a moment. "I desire none of your wares. Instead, I challenge you to a game of riddles. If you answer correctly, you may pass freely. But if you fail, you must leave behind something of great value." Intrigued, Kwame agreed. Jabari posed his riddle, a complex question that tested the merchant's intellect and creativity. Kwame thought carefully before responding, his answer precise and insightful. Jabari's laughter filled the air, a sound of genuine amusement. "Well done, merchant. You have bested me. Go forth and tell others of our encounter." The lesson of Jabari. As the years went by, Jabari's reputation as the guardian of the bridge became a symbol of wisdom and integrity. Villagers and travelers alike learned to approach him with respect, offering fair exchanges or rising to his intellectual challenges. Jabari, in turn, became a part of their lives, a reminder of the importance of honor, wit, and fulfilling one's promises. Kofi's test. Not all stories about Jabari ended happily. There were those who tried to deceive the crocodile, believing that his age and life in the water made him gullible. One such person was a young fisherman named Abasi, who thought himself cleverer than Jabari. Abasi approached the bridge carrying a net filled with fish. He had heard the tales of Jabari, but dismissed them as mere superstition. As he stepped onto the bridge, the deep voice of the crocodile rumbled once more. "Who dares cross my bridge without my permission?" "It is I, Abasi," the young man replied, his tone casual. "I have nothing to offer you, but surely a few fish from my net won't interest someone as mighty as you." Jabari's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing. "Do not insult me with your flippancy, fisherman. I demand a fair exchange." Abasi smirked. "Then let us play a game, Jabari. If I win, you will let me pass without offering anything. If you win, I will give you half of my catch." Jabari considered the offer and agreed. They played a game of wits, each taking turns asking questions that tested the other's knowledge. For a while, it seemed that Abasi had the upper hand. But then Jabari asked a question about the river's history, something only a true guardian would know. Abasi faltered, unable to answer. Jabari chuckled deeply. "You lose, fisherman. Leave half your catch and learn to respect the agreements you make." Humbled, Abasi complied, leaving behind the fish. From that day forward, he told others of Jabari's sharp mind, warning them not to underestimate the crocodile. The drought. One year, Mwanzani faced a terrible drought. The Jangari River's water levels dropped, and the villagers struggled to irrigate their crops. Jabari, too, was affected, his once lush and thriving domain reduced to shallow pools. Seeing the plight of the villagers, Jabari emerged from the river to address them directly for the first time. "People of Mwanzani," he said, his voice resonating through the village square. "We must work together if we are to survive this drought. I propose an alliance." The villagers were astonished. They had always seen Jabari as a figure to be respected and feared, not a partner. But Kofi, now an elder in the village, stepped forward. "What do you suggest, Jabari?" he asked. Jabari explained a plan to divert water from an upstream source to refill the Jangari. it would require the cooperation of the entire village and Jabari's guidance in navigating the river's complex channels. The villagers agreed, and together they worked tirelessly to restore the river. Through their combined efforts, the water returned, and life in Mwanzani flourished once more. Jabari's role in saving the village elevated him from a guardian of the bridge to a true protector of the people. Jabari's legacy. Years turned into decades, and Jabari grew older. His once vibrant scales dulled slightly, but his mind remained sharp. He continued to guard the bridge, challenging those who crossed with riddles and demands for fair exchanges. The villagers came to see him not as a threat, but as a wise elder, a symbol of their community's values. When Jabari finally passed, his legend lived on. The villagers built a statue in his honor at the foot of the bridge, depicting him in his prime with eyes full of wisdom. Children grew up hearing stories of Jabari's cleverness and integrity, and his lessons shaped the character of Mwanzani for generations. The bridge of Mwanzani, once an ordinary crossing, became a sacred place, a reminder of the enduring bond between man and nature, forged by the wit and wisdom of a crocodile named Jabari.